Hi, please ignore the state of how I look right now. This is just what we're getting tonight. And I have the two girls in the bed who are being very sweet tonight. The girls always know, especially, well, I feel like Dolly knows all the time, but I feel like especially Bonnie knows whenever something's up with me, because she's always like weirdly like guarding of me. And that's like exactly what she's doing tonight, where she'll just be like watching me, and it's super sweet. But I want to come on and talk because there has just been like a looming, like, I don't want to say darkness because that's so dramatic, but there has been like a looming struggle, I think is the best way to put this, over me recently that I've really wanted to talk about, but I've just been so tired to talk about it, because I've been like pumping out drama videos recently and pumping out regular style videos, and I've just wanted to do like an update because there's so many things that I want to update you on. There's so many opinions that I would like to hear that you have. First of all, I don't mean to start off this video like going straight into it, but I don't like complaining. I really, really, really don't. And my main reasoning for it is I hate sympathy. I hate people feeling like they have to give sympathy. And then the other thing is I hate complaining because I feel like it's setting myself up badly. Like, whenever I'm complaining about something, I'm like, okay, why can't I just be looking at this from like a different perspective? However, things have been just recently, and I think whenever I'm mentally going through it, that is one thing, and then whenever I'm physically going through it, it's another thing on top of it, and then it just gets too much. And that has just been me recently. So I don't know how I want to start this, but I have like a history of like arthritis and stuff in my family, and I've, you know, had my back checked out a couple times, and I need to go again, updated wise. Now I'm out in England with a new doctor because I had my doctor whenever I was back in the north in Ireland, and I need to get an updated, like it's been years now, but there has been issues with my back and my body for as long as I can remember, and it is like bad pain, and it is just awful, and it's like enough that I could like cry when I think about it, because it like, it just stops me from doing so much, and it stops me from, it is so intense, and it comes and goes, and it's, whenever my back is sore, my entire body gets aches, and it mentally fucks me up, and then it just puts me in like a pit for so long. And I'm currently in one of them, and I know all of my friends in Brighton are aware of it because they haven't seen me in a while, and I get super delayed in my text back with people, and I'm just not in it, and I'm out of it. And this all started from, my back has been sore for quite some time, especially recently, and I haven't been able to get in with my doctors and the hospital over here, because every time I call them up, they're like, we're not taking appointments. Both the dogs are like snoring. They're like, we're not taking appointments right now, like we're focusing on like more important things, and you know, that's great, that's fine. But I've never got any medication for my back, and I've never got anything like that. And quite recently, my back has been so sore that it's like making me physically sick. And it's really hard to explain. Like, I'm sitting right now and I know my posture is shit, but it like, I feel sick, and I felt sick all day, and I feel worse now than what I've ever felt whenever I had even COVID. And I felt really bad whenever I had COVID, but like whenever my body gets like this, I just feel like my entire body is shutting down, and then the mental side that comes with that is so intense. And so I don't want to skip ahead and stuff, but I'm just so over the place right now. I was at Dua Lipa last week, which was so fun. I went to both nights in London. I don't really go to concerts ever in like the UK. I always go like other places, like whether I'm in America or whatever like that. And this was one of my first, I think my first ever concert in London that I ever been to. So night one, I went and I was standing and I was front row, and it was so fun. I had no problems with my back. And then night two, I felt sick the entire day because my back was sore. Not sick as in like a cold or anything like that, just sick because of that, like really fatigued. I was like, it's probably just, you know, doing a back-to-back show day. And then I'm queuing, we get in, I'm front row again, and I literally had just felt like someone had punched me in the back of my back, in the back of my neck, and then kicked me in the back of my thighs. And I couldn't take it. It was really intense. So like, I want to show you that, like, you know, I love concerts. That's my #1 thing. Front row at Dua Lipa. I was there sitting down queuing outside of the arena for 10 hours, like no joke. And I couldn't take it, and I ended up spending the entire concert at the back of the arena sitting on the floor. So like, I wasn't seeing anything. I got up at a couple times and was like walking back and forth, like strutting my thing, like dancing. But for most of the concert I had to sit at the back of the arena, and ever since that day I have just been in the worst mental place, because I just feel like I've let my back win over me, and I've let like my body pain win over me. And whenever I tell you that I just haven't been doing stuff like since that, and I have just been living in the past few days in like a pit of, for some reason it's so weird, it like triggers something within me where I will go back on, and then I want to know if anyone feels like this, but recently I've just been mentally back in like the worst time periods of my life ever. I can't explain it. It's so bizarre. I'm in such a great place right now. I'm in, actually, and like, you know what I mean? Everything's going great. And it's like, I keep mentally like living out like awful time periods of my life. And I don't know why. And I also cannot stop it. It is so bizarre. It is so horrifying. I have never in my life had nightmares. I've never even had dreams, and that sounds so bizarre. People always think I'm lying. Like, I'm like, you know, I don't dream, and everyone's like, oh, okay, whatever, you probably are just like so tired that you don't remember it. I'm like, she's sleeping, sitting upright. I'm trying to catch her and she's doing it again. Sorry, I was just waiting for her to fall over. She does that a lot, where she'll just... I am aware that that was so boring to watch. Are you sleepy? See, she's like refusing to sleep. She's like trying to like watch over me. I appreciate it. I always tell my friends I never have dreams. I don't know. I feel like I can't remember a single dream I've ever had. And the only times I've dreamt, I've been like very... obviously like lucid dreaming, and you know what I mean, like it's like you're basically pretending, in my opinion, or at least I have felt like that. So but anyway, I've been having nightmares recently, and I've been having the most graphic, awful nightmares, and a lot of those have been stemming from on my trip back from New York. I was flying alone back. I was with my parents on the trip, but we came back at different times. I came back a week later. On that flight, I'll not get into it, but there was a lot of really scary moments on it, like terrifying moments on the flight, and I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it, but there were a lot of moments on the flight where I thought that like I wasn't going to survive, as dramatic as that sounds, and I'm aware that it wasn't as dramatic as how I feel it, but I had my first ever 2 panic attacks since I was at least 4 years ago, on a flight, on my own, and it was one of the scariest things I can say that I've ever felt. I actually think one of the panic attacks that I had 2 on the flight. One of them was the worst panic attack I've ever had in my entire life, and I feel like since I've had that, there has been something that has been set off within me that I am incredibly anxious and incredibly paranoid every single fucking day since. I keep having the most graphic nightmares. I cannot sleep, and I just feel on edge every single day, and I do not know why. Like, whenever I tell you I was terrified on the flight, and then that turned into panic attacks, and it was so, the first thing I did when I got off the flight was called my parents, called my nana and granddad. That was how dramatic that felt for me. And something since that, I have not slept properly since that day. I have been terrified at the thought of going on a plane again, and just in general, I have been, so sweet. I'm trying to not make this video as dramatic as possible, but I know that in theory this could be a lot less dramatic, but it's just, I have felt so horrible since coming back from New York, because that flight, I have my worst ever panic attack, and I do not have them frequently. I'm not on medication. I don't go to therapy. It's not that I have anything against that. I just haven't dabbled in any of that. And I have new healthcare in England, and I'm like changing over my details and stuff, so you know what I mean? It's not just like an easier process. I have just felt sick every day since that, and you may be like, oh, do you mean like actual sickness or like mental sickness? I cannot describe it. I just feel so on edge every single day. And then the mixture of that mixed with my back being horrible, I am living very bizarrely the past couple weeks that I have never lived like this in my entire life, where I am so paranoid, I am so anxious, and I think most of it stems from I'm so scared to ever have a panic attack like what I had, and I'm doing each and every single thing I can to avoid that happening. And on night 2 of the concert, whenever my back started hurting, I then started, whenever I was at, this is so stupid, like I was front row, concert had been queuing for 10 hours, my back starts going, I literally feel again like someone literally just, whatever, and then I start like arguing with myself in my head because I've wasted my entire day. I was in the queue for 10 fucking hours. The people I was with are front row, and now I'm gonna be at the back of the arena. And then I started getting so like pissed off at myself in my head, and I wasn't saying it to the people I was with, that then I started getting scared that I was gonna work myself up and have a panic attack, that I literally felt so defeated. And it's so bizarre, I cannot describe it. I have never felt like this in my entire life. I literally feel like my body and my mind has shut down, or is in some sort of like purgatory, where I'm like an in-between stage where I do not know what is going on. And I just like, the reason I wanted to tell you and talk to you about this is because I have talked with so many people in my comment section who've talked about panic attacks. I've talked to so many of you about anxiety. A lot of you have opened up to me about that, and I've been so grateful because that's so vulnerable. I'm now asking you, like, if you've been through this, if you know people, like, what can I do? I'm so scared to do anything because I am so paranoid, so anxious, and that panic attack, like, it literally did something to my brain where I have not felt the same since that, baby. I have not felt the same since that day, and it is not something I would wish on anyone. It is horrible. I am so exhausted. I'm so fucking tired. I'm so worn out because I'm not sleeping because I'm having the worst nightmares about that and just everything. And so I just, I'm like, I've talked to like a couple of my friends out here in Brighton, and I hate opening up to like my friends out here as much as I love them, but it's just because they're also new. So I'm like, I don't want to scare you. I don't want to scare you off. But my muckers, I'm like, I would never scare my muckers off. But yeah, so whenever I'm trying to like explain surface level to like people out here, then I'm holding back and I don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to talk about panic attacks because I'm embarrassed about it. I don't want to talk about anxiety because I'm embarrassed about it. But I feel like I've had this conversation with so many of you that I'm like, okay, maybe we can get somewhere with this. Or maybe even just, I feel like even hearing people's stories about this, as fucking stupid as that may sound, or as YouTuber as that may sound, I'm so exhausted that I literally just want to like, almost like for validation, like as awful as that sounds, like if you've gone through things like this, please tell me. Because it feels so isolating and so like individualized whenever this is happening, and it's like, to know that other people are going through it, I would never wish it on someone, but I do know, like, as much as, this is what's different from any time I've had panic attacks in the past, I know that other people have panic attacks, and whenever I had my first ones, I was like, oh my god, I feel like this is just happening to me, like, what's going on? Whenever I had these ones, I was like, I understood that it was a panic attack, I, like, identified it, and even at that, it made it feel a little bit better. But just since that, the ramifications of having that have been awful on my mental and physical state, where I just feel so alert all the time. I feel like that's the only way to describe it. I literally just feel so alert all the time. And not in a good way. I would always say that I'm alert, but now I mean I'm like hyper alert. There's also been a couple nights in my apartment recently. Oh my god, I wasn't even thinking about this until filming. There have been a couple nights in my apartment recently where people are obviously coming back drunk or whatever, which is great. Good for them. I hope they enjoyed their night. And they're like buzzing up to my apartment, obviously by accident. Maybe people like prank calling. And then there have been people going in the hallways and then accidentally trying to open my door instead of another one. And that has happened like, realistically, I want to say 3 or 4 times within the past 2 weeks, and I've called my mum no matter what the time, sorry mum, every time this has happened, and I thought I was going insane the first time it happened. The second and third time, the dogs barked when it happened, and just hearing those like noises and stuff when you're already so like hyper focused on like protecting yourself and whatever is so offsetting and so alerting. And I just feel, I wonder if anyone else has ever felt like this, I feel so sick because I'm so paranoid, and it all just stems down to the like having back-to-back panic attacks after not having them for years. And I mean years. Like, I've been anxious, but I've never, and I've probably had panic attacks, you know, within that time frame, but like now that I've had that is a panic attack, and it is just fucked something up within how I've been living recently. And I would love, sorry it sounds horrible, I would love to know if any of you have had any experiences with like anything similar to do with anxiety and panic attacks, because again, as awful as it sounds, I really feel like I would get something out of like reading other people's like experiences with this. I'm just like tired. I'm just tired, and like I can't sleep because of awful nightmares that I'm having, which I've never had before. It's literally the night after I got back off that plane, every single night since. Every single night since. Oof. That's where I'm at. And the reason I did want to make this was because I'm so like hyper focused on how I am whenever I'm presenting news for my drama videos. And I always try my best to be entertaining. I always try my best to be adding something. I always try my best to be doing better than my last video. And I feel like that's my, I always try to achieve what I've done in the past. And that's also something that like makes me overwork myself. But that's just like kind of what keeps me going always. And I know that nobody's noticed, but in my last couple of videos, I've just felt so tired. And I wanted to like have a video where I'm like talking about like what's going on right now. And I honestly, as weird as it sounds, I feel like I'll feel better in my videos moving forward now that I've like had this conversation. Because I feel like I just personally, even if no one has watched this video, like even just need to like film this and then discard it or whatever like that, you know, where I'm like openly talking about it. And who knows, maybe that's where therapy would come in good, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I feel like this will do me good to have said this, and then I'll feel more relaxed in my videos moving forward. And I appreciate if anyone listened to this, and if you are listening, if anyone is, and you have any sort of experience with anything like what I said, please let me know. It would so be appreciated. She is still trying to not fall asleep. You know, the second I stop recording, by the way, she is going to fall asleep. I feel like she's aware that I'm doing something and she wants to be aware of what I'm doing. Are you so tired? Are you so tired? Are you so tired? Like, I would be so lost without these girls. You see this? Like, she just immediately comes up for cuddles. I love you. I, like, honestly, these girls are my entire fucking life. Someone commented and they were like, what about the cats? I love the cats. The cats live by themselves. Like, not literally, but like, those boys would be fine if I didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, they are my roommates. These two girls are my children. It sure feels that way. You can go to sleep, sweetie. So anyway, if you watched this, I appreciated it. Thank you. I just wanted to have a little conversation. And I actually hear Milo meowing, so I'm gonna go out and let him in now. I don't like the cats walking around whenever I'm filming because they will knock down the tripod or set the dogs off, but now we can because we'll go out for playtime. Cuties. Cuties. Alright, I love you muckers. Bye.